very good point.
And a lot of times we talk about how polarizing the Democrats and the Republicans are, how they can't agree on anything, which is simply not true. There is one thing that we all agree on: photo ID.
Oh, absolutely.
So what do you think on photo ID?
I absolutely love that. I mean, we need to make sure that we have integrity in our elections, bottom line. We just absolutely have to do that. And you can't get on an airplane. You can't do anything without a photo ID. How can you do this most important task of voting without a photo ID? And why would you be against that? There's only one reason that you would be against that, if you ask me, and that has to do with fraud. I mean, because there is no other reason that I can come up with.
I can't think of another reason at all.
Yeah, so 100% for that.
Yeah, some 80% of the population believe in, I want to show a photo ID to vote.
Right.
And as an election judge, that is the #1 thing. People come in and they say we should have to show an ID.
Yeah, I was an election judge for 15 years, and I would say a good 50% of people just automatically put it on the table, and they want you to look at it, and they want you to match it up. And I was happy to do that, but it wasn't required. But it should be required. I believe that. I
think it should be too.
Yeah.
And we were talking too about how you made the comment election integrity matters. Well, we have hundreds of convicted felons that have been voting in just Ramsey County. So, and we hear all the time, oh, Minnesota has the most honest elections and there's no corruption here. Well, now you hear hundreds of convicted felons voting in Ramsey County. Does that inspire confidence in our election system?
You know, what comes to my mind is how many of the military votes never got counted.
I know.
Because they didn't get there on time. I mean, oh my goodness, that's just so wrong. We have to do something about that. We have to make sure that their votes get here on time, that all of those count.
Right. That's being considered already over there too. They're looking at an August 10th for the primary date.
Wow.
And some people say it's so that the military ballots will get in, which, of course, we want our... You have a son.
I do.
Serving in
He leaves on Tuesday for his second tour to Iraq.
Wow. So, thank him.
I will.
And people don't realize how hard it is on the families, as well as on the soldiers. I was so happy when our Red Bulls came back.
I know, wasn't that great?
And we're getting their money for them too.
Yes,
all their overtime pay that they were supposed to get. What's up with that?
I don't know.
I don't know.
We give convicted felons, speaking of felons, we give them welfare. But we don't. Something's amazingly
It's amazing.
wrong.
But August 10th would be the primary date.
Okay.
And again, part of that is so that the folks in the military will be able to get their votes counted. Some people wonder how fair it is to other candidates, especially from, say, a third party, because they won't have the state fair to get their message out to the people of Minnesota because it's before the state fair. On the other hand, you have the mainstream parties, you know, the Democrats and the Republicans saying, this is great. The sooner we get the primary over, we know there's going to be a primary in the Democrats. We're not sure about the Republican side yet. But to get the candidates picked and then get on to business before November. So that'll be interesting to see what happens there. All right, so let's assume that we are going to watch you roar to victory and over to Capitol Hill in St. Paul after the November election. What are going to be your priorities over in St. Paul?
Absolutely #1, jobs in the economy. We just need, you know, the best thing that we can do for the people of Minnesota is to get them working again. People don't want to be on unemployment. They don't want to be on welfare. They want a job. And so that has to be our #1 priority. So working on slashing corporate taxes, all these taxes that just don't need to be. We need to work on that. That would be my #1 priority.
And I know a little bit earlier in the program I heard you say the word repeal.
Yeah.
Is that #2 priority?
Repeal. Yeah, let's see, where would we start?
There are so many laws that we could repeal. I think one of the biggest complaints that I hear about the state of Minnesota, once you get past the taxes and the spending, is the nanny state laws. And we can talk about the smoking ban law, we can talk about the primary seatbelt, we can which they are making so much money off that primary seatbelt law. That's another story. Another revenue source for them, another excuse to write us a ticket so that they can take more money out of our pocket. But they call Minnesota the nanny state. One of the bills that was pre-introduced this legislative session, but before the session started, there were over 200 bills pre-introduced, which is a violation of the Constitution, by the way. After the first day of the session, there were another 300 and some bills. That doesn't count the couple thousand bills that are from last year, that are just sitting there waiting for action of one sort or another to be taken on. But repealing some of these would be a wonderful idea. One of the ones that they introduced was to discourage the use of bottled water. That is, I can't remember.
Does it have to do with the plastic?
Yeah. I want to say Gardner and Phyllis Kahn introduced it, but I don't want anyone to hold me to that.
Yeah.
But discouraging the use of water bottles is over at the Capitol. Is that the role of government? Is that something we want our elected officials working on?
Oh my goodness. Well, you know what strikes me too is, you know, they're doing all these pre-meetings and they're doing all these pre-whatever. Who's paying for that?
We are.
Yeah, I mean, is this a per diem? Every day they get together and they, I mean, they've made their 5-month part-time job a full-time job. And I think there was a reason that we wanted them to, like you said in the very beginning of the show, you know, every time they're in there, we're in danger. Every minute they're in there, we're in danger. Our freedom's in danger, our pocketbook's in danger. And so, but they have made it their priority, or their prerogative, I should say, to meet year-round and just to keep charging the taxpayers these per diems. I think that in itself is wrong. Why can't you just...
That word repeal that you talked about before, I like that.
I mean, I might make a law that says we're not meeting until session starts, because why do we need to do all of that? There's a reason that we have these 5 months to get our work done and get out.
On the first day of the session, 330 some bills were introduced. 99.1% of them had nothing to do with jobs or the economy.
Oh my word.
That shows you how misplaced the priorities are over on Capitol Hill. We need you, Kathy Lohmer. We need you.
I need to be there. I want to be there. I'm working very hard to be there. Now, I thought that the Republicans did come up with a bill to do something to slash corporate taxes or something, and that
to phase out corporate income tax.
And that got nothing.
Crushed.
That got nowhere.
Crushed by party line.
But 99.9% of the things that they do, help.
Exactly. Kathy Lohmer, I cannot stress enough how much we need people like you. We're down to our last minute here. Okay. Tell us again how they find you. Your website?
KathyLohmer.com.
Yeah, it doesn't get much easier than that. And there they'll be able to find ways to help you, whether it's to march in parades, make phone calls, help in the endorsement conventions coming up, that all kinds of ways. No matter how much little time you have or a lot of time you have, you'll take their help.
And talk to their neighbors and talk to their friends. I find one really effective thing is just having little neighborhood coffee parties and inviting the candidate in. And even if you invite your neighbors and you don't know where they stand politically, just come and have an open discussion. And I think there's just a lot of education that needs to go on. People are very, very busy with their jobs and just trying to make ends meet, and they don't always have a lot of time to go to the Capitol or pay attention and read what they should. But just to have an evening of getting together with neighbors, I think, is a really good way to get our message out. So.
And we make it very easy for you. You can go to KathyLohmer.com. She writes a blog. She goes to the Capitol all the time. She keeps you updated on what's happening. The state of Minnesota has a great website. Kathy has a great website. Kathy Lohmer, good luck.
Thank you, Sue. Thanks so much.
Victory in 2010.
Thanks.